This is the Slugo, slant and go.
Georgia Tech, Florida State.
If you're going to ruin this show by doing research,
Notre Dame.
My dentist is a Notre Dame grad.
Definitely smells.
Casey the Beef Cregan, we're in for show number 25 here on Slugo. What do you can you believe that? Show 25.
No, it was just a pipe dream back in July, right? We were talking. It felt like it was taking forever to get here, to get to show number 1. We got a little some semblance of some football season, and we're here. We're 25. Wow.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because 26 is about a half a year. And I remember, as you said, when we were just talking about this was just an idea, and we were bantering about topics and ideas, which we still do every week. So I think it's pretty cool. It's our Silver Jubilee, I think it's called. If you marry 25 years, knock on some kind of wood, because I'm not there yet. And if days go like today, I might not make it. But so tell me about your shirt this week. What you got?
This week I got it's Thanksgiving themed, right? And we just got a Peloton in this house, so I'm ready to get into some semblance of shape. But right now I'm into fitness, pumpkin pie in my mouth. So it's just a little joke, a little humor this week. Figured I'd take it off where I've been in the past. So. And rocking the Seton Hall Prep hat, because Seton Hall Prep just knocked off the number 1 team in football in the state of New Jersey and the number 6 team nationally. And they really had no business doing so. So that's why I'm rocking the Seton Hall Prep hat tonight.
That'd be Don Bosco?
St. Peter's Prep. St. Peter's Prep.
I didn't know another school in New Jersey besides Don Bosco.
You would. There's some names. There's some names from St. Peter's that you would definitely know that have moved on to bigger and better. I don't know them off the top of my head, but you will. A lot of Penn State, Michigan guys are from Peters.
No doubt. And I'm rocking the Slugo shirt because it's something we don't talk about often enough, and that is that we actually have a Slugo store that you can purchase shirts from that support the show. There it is. A little slow here on the uptake, but shirts, cups. Hey, look at there. There's a mug there. We get a couple bucks if you want to support the show that way. That's fine. We appreciate that. But, if you just want to watch the show and chime in and throw a few comments out there, we like that too. We got a couple up here. Let's see what we got. Morgan Thomas, check in. Hey, welcome in, Morgan. Thanks for checking us out.
Definitely.
And Chad Yarber checks in from Connecticut. So first 2 comments of the day. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool, yeah. And the Slugo, just to hammer the point home here, you can get any color. So Marty's got the black and white, but you can do it any color combination you want. So if you're a Clemson fan, you can get some orange Slugo. You can get an orange shirt. You can even do purple shirt if you want. You're an Ohio State fan like Tom Gladishevsky, who comments a lot in the Seldom Used Reserve page. You can get red and white. So any color combination you want. It's a nice Christmas gift.
Obviously, you're a better salesman than I am, and but that's pretty cool. Yeah, we get a couple bucks for every shirt, and it helps defray some of the cost. I know people don't always realize this, but this is not free. We do pay a few bucks for this, and for cleaning up some of the audio at the end. We run it through a special program, and helps you understand us better. Though that's still probably pretty difficult to do. And speaking of which, if you'd like to advertise on the show, we're always interested in promoting products that we believe in. Just reach out to either one of us. Casey's big on that social media. I, on the other hand, just kind of hang out and lay back. But reach out to us. We'd be glad to talk to you about putting your product company on the show if that is something you're interested in. So we appreciate that. And just to follow up, probably last week I'll talk about it because I kind of plan on ending early next week around December 1st in order to get the money to the vets in time for them to do something for Christmas. Now, I did find out they're not doing the breakfast these days because of COVID, right? You don't want to have 75 people in a room together these days, but they're still doing things for vets other services. So I'm still going to send that money to them, or they can just hang on to it till they have their next breakfast, which will hopefully be soon. I did want to call out, we're up to $185 on that, which I sincerely appreciate everyone contributing. It's a cause that's near and dear to my heart, being a veteran. I want to specifically reach out to Brandon Rink of TigerNet, a longtime friend of mine who was one of the first, I think the first actually, to contribute. Casey's buddy, JJ, Jeff Justin from the Chop and Beef Show. Very generous offer. JJ, thank you for your contribution. It was a huge help. And of course, Nelson Wilhite from our Facebook group, who helps me tremendously managing that group and making sure, there's more than 4-letter words out there and keeping everybody straight on the page. Nelson, thank you. Very, very generous offer. Donation. Nelson said when I donated that first amount in the interesting jar and said I would give $1 for every comment, he said, I'll match you. And he certainly did. Nelson, thank you very much. Big help. And I'll make sure to get it to the veterans early December.
Yeah, we really have a great audience, great active audience. We appreciate everyone doing that. And thank you to those three as well. And everyone else that donated. We appreciate it very much so.
Most definitely. All right, Casey, we're going to start off here with a little rant from me, right? Just a little one. I don't rant too often, but Tuesday, or was it Monday? One of the podcasts I listened to talked about the ESPN playoff predictor, right? This is ostensibly some kind of algorithm that ESPN uses to predict which teams are in the playoff. And I saw this, and the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was because if you look at this, check your screen out. These guys, this algorithm theoretically says that Cincinnati has a better chance to make the playoff than Clemson. Now, it's not where Clemson is ranked that bothers me. It's where Cincinnati is ranked, and not even so much that, but it's their percentage that they're giving them to make the playoff. They're telling me that a AC that has played nobody has a better than 1 in 3 chance to make the playoff. Now, how do I say this nicely? That's stupid. That is stupid. Is Cincinnati going to make the playoff 1 out of every 3 years with a season like this one? I give them kind of a little bit of a break because it's COVID, right? And it's crazy, wild, and whatever. Cincinnati's not making the playoff. They're not going to put Cincinnati. They could be 100-0, and they're not making the playoff. I mean, that would be a disaster on so many levels. Sure, the people in Iowa would love it, right? And, the people in the AAC conference would love it, but 98% of football America would hate it. And it's not even that. It's just they're just not one of the best 4 teams in the nation, and I don't care how much they beat East Carolina by. Besides all that, they're not going to be in the playoff. And as I told you earlier, I've done algorithms before, and they're not perfect, and that's why I stopped doing it, right? Because I wasn't really good at it. But when my algorithm got something like this, like Cincinnati will make the playoff 1 out of every 3 years, it's time to go back and look at your algorithm or scrap it all together and start over because Cincinnati's not making the playoff.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I like Cincinnati. I watched that UCF Cincinnati game on Saturday night, especially after the Clemson Florida State game got booted, but I enjoy watching them play. But I think you're right to a lot of extent there. It's a cute story, right? People every year, there's always one. There's a group of 5 team that's usually undefeated or has a really good record that everyone wants to see in the playoff. Everyone except fans of teams that matter, right? Because they were talking about it today. I heard Heather Dinich on every TV show, every radio show today. She was talking about the paths to the playoff, and they said basically Cincinnati. She said Cincinnati basically has no shot, right? Because they're also going to be looking at possibly 2 SEC teams with Florida, Alabama, Texas A&M, 2 ACC teams for this year anyway. Notre Dame and Clemson, if Clemson wins the rematch. If Florida beats Alabama, there's so many things. There's really no way in for Cincinnati. So it's a cute story. Luke Fickell's going to be the hottest name on the coaching market this year. He's probably may go to Michigan if that job comes open. But, yeah, there's no real chance for them to make it. There's no real path for them to get in. And they're fun to watch. Enjoy them while they're playing Tulsa and Houston and whoever else is in that AAC. That was a great game with UCF last week. It went back and forth. It was enjoyable, but I think you're 100% right. But I swear those algorithms from ESPN sometimes are really just to make people like us talk and to piss me off.
That was going to be my next point. What's the purpose of it? If the purpose of it is to get us to talk, and if it's totally math-based, I kind of get it, but the playoff is not totally math-based. There's 18, 75-year-old guys in a room somewhere, right, deciding who's going to be in the playoff. And, yes, they look at numbers and statistics, and part of that makes up that algorithm, but it's not all math. And I don't know how you put a playoff committee into an algorithm, right? I mean, so if they're looking at straight numbers, Cincinnati looks great, except for the strength of schedule, by the way. But if they're looking at anything else, any human interaction, they don't look so hot. They don't look so hot, I mean, compared to everybody else.
Well, that's also
your friends out, I was going to say, your friends out in Alaska want to know about Kansas, and I'm not sure this year. Are we talking basketball there, Justin or Patrice?
Alaska, I'm not sure they have electricity out there, but that begs the conversation about BYU, right? Especially the chairman of the committee the other day was talking about eye test and how much eye test has come into play, and then drops BYU behind 2-loss Georgia and another 2-loss SEC team. Yes, BYU's but their schedule is pretty putrid. However, if you watch the games, those 47-year-olds are really good at football. And that's my joke on chopping beef. I'm bringing it over here, but those guys are really actually pretty good, all joking aside. That offensive line is probably arguably one of the best I've seen in the country this year. And to put them at, I think they were 14, 16 back there somewhere, it's a slap in the face, and it's subjective, right? It's so objective. Excuse me. It's so objective. These guys in the room, 75-year-old dudes, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're picking it with the eye test, but then sometimes if the eye test doesn't fit what they want, then they're not picking it.
I was going to only say BYU's 26-years, but you've got to
exaggerate. I exaggerate a little bit.
Really? No. Hey, I see Zach Locks Parker's on the line. Let's bring him in here so we can talk about the playoff rankings and get his thoughts on Cincinnati.
Good to see Kevron Harris joining. Thanks, Kevron. And I don't think anybody is going to stop Bama, but I may be wrong there. Notre Dame, I hope December 19th, our Clemson Tigers beat them. But hey, Zach.
What's up? How y'all?
Good. Right. Okay, Locks, that's your first question. It's your first test of the day. Can Notre Dame and Bama be stopped?
Yes and yes. Yes, absolutely. I like Florida, obviously. I think they could really stand a chance against Alabama. High-scoring game. Over-under, I'm setting it here on the Slugo podcast. I'll set it at 90 right now for the over-under for that game. That'll be an offensive shootout, I think, and it could be whoever has the ball last could win that game. But in theory, Alabama should win it. Obviously, Notre Dame is probably going to be the underdog, I would think, this time versus Clemson in the championship game, and they probably should be with a healthy Clemson team. So I could see Clemson coming in and beating them, splitting the series 1-1, and then, like I said, the first show.
Here it comes.
No, okay, never mind. It probably won't work out, but they could play 3 times.
You did call it.
It won't happen.
It won't happen.
No,
hey, you got to call your shot. It's worth it.
No, I was going to give you credit. You did call it, but
definitely smells
It definitely smells like no, it smells. You did call it. That was really good. And up until last week, Casey's pick of Oklahoma State to win the Big 12 was looking pretty good, but they got smashed last week by
Killed.
I love Spencer Rattler. All right, let's talk some playoff rankings and thoughts. I thought Clemson was going to be number 4 yesterday. Foolish me. Alabama's first, Notre Dame second. I think we knew that, and the question was 3 and 4. Doesn't make any difference right now, really, does it? No, it doesn't. But what do you think Clemson was third? Go ahead, Beef. You first.
Well, all I was going to say, it doesn't matter, but it's 6-year sample size. I put it on the discussion page. There's no number 3 ranked team in the initial poll has ever made the playoff. So, we got Clemson folks here. We have 3 Clemson guys here, right? We try to talk about everybody, but we got 3 Clemson guys. 6-year sample size. I know it's still small. No number 3 team has ever made it. Clemson at number 3. I'm okay with it. I like where Alabama and Notre Dame are. I believe those are number 1 and 2 through this point, right? Alabama's beaten everybody they need to beat, and Notre Dame has beaten everybody they need to beat, and Clemson. Doesn't matter that Clemson was injured and got the benefit of every review, but that's a story for last week. They are what they are. They are what their record says they are, as one of those old NFL coaches says. Clemson at 3 is fine. They've played 7 games. The only loss that they've had was to Notre Dame, who is number 2. Ohio State, they've played a top 10 team in Indiana. Whether they are officially a top 10 team or, is up for discussion, as I saw a lot today on the Twitter machine. But I know that one thing is really pretty funny is Ohio State fans getting very upset that they lost to Clemson once again. But it's early, right? It's one of these things again that gets my ire up, gets my heart rate up, which is why I'm on the Peloton now after this show. But is these polls early? I think Ohio State in that first ever poll was ranked 14th or something and got in and won the whole dang thing. So we'll see. I like it. It works. These are probably the 4 teams, in my opinion, that make it in some semblance of order.
I got a prediction. Zach, mark this down.
Okay.
After tonight's show, Casey will never say Peloton again without cuss words being in front of it.
I slipped last week. I'm not going to slip again. I almost said it this week tonight before it. So.
That's just, I don't know why that came to me as he was talking. He kept saying Peloton, Peloton, Peloton. I'm like, oh, he's going to hate that thing by the time the week's over.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Zach, what's your take 1 through 4, Zach?
Well, I think the big thing, I think, is just the sample size. Ohio State only having 4 games to play and also only just playing Indiana. I feel like it's only a new beer called Peloton. Exactly. I think that's the big thing. It could also be some prior history. Ohio State versus Clemson. Is that why Clemson got put ahead of them? I would think not, but maybe so. But I think a lot of it's just sample size. They just haven't played as many games, and it's it's early. It's all relative. I think it's going to work its way out, especially with the top 6 that they have in there right now. So I thought my biggest takeaway was great, just because I'm not a huge fan. What was the highest ranked Pac-12 team?
Oregon was like 18.
At 15, I think. And USC was down like 21, maybe something like that. So I think they are toast just from the get-go. They're just getting totally disrespected, and there's not a shot for them to get in. I don't see how they could. So,
well,
yeah,
what I heard
how that
was
worked.
USC, the 3 teams they beat haven't won a game, and then the other guy said, "Well, you've only played 3." So, I mean, two of them are 0-1, and one of them's 0-2, or something like that. Right here we are on Thanksgiving, and they're 0-1.
Yeah.
That was a joke before we started this mess too, right? We were talking about 3-0 Ohio State playing 10-1, Alabama in the playoff. So it's now it's coming to fruition a little bit.
Pretty close, yeah.
That's kind of scary. Yeah. Hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but Clemson didn't play last weekend. Have you heard? You heard anything about that? And I probably got somewhat of an unpopular opinion here. I get the disappointment coming from Clemson, the players certainly, and even the coaches. I get the disappointment. I get the $300,000 they're out, which kind of baffles me that everybody's talking about how everybody's going broke this year and shutting down sports programs, and they're like, well, 300,000, that's not much at all. It's a good chunk of change. I get all that, but at some point, don't you just have to let it go? Don't you just have to move on? And I don't think Clemson's perfect in this. They followed the protocol. They did everything they had to do. But let me tell you, I went to the doctor's office. Beef and I were talking before we started the show. Had an outpatient procedure last week. I had one last year, but I had an outpatient procedure last week. And I couldn't get into the doctor's office without a mask and a temperature check. And they gave me my own pen that I had to carry around. Nobody else could use that pen. I still got it. And so my point is why take the backup offensive lineman? Was he that crucial? I mean, did you play by the rules? Yes, you did. But on the other hand, you're taking the chance, not just playing that game. I'm talking about with your whole team. What happened if he infected the rest of that team? Your whole season, potentially national championship, certainly a playoff bid is on the line because you decided to take a backup offensive lineman. So I see both sides of it. I just think at some point Dabo needs to let it go and move on. The other thing I would say is I think the big fault here lies with the ACC, right? Because why have the protocol if you're not going to enforce it? What's the point? My guess is they don't want the liability. They're scared if they force these teams to play, somebody gets sick, something happens, the ACC is going to be held liable. But why have the protocol? Zach, you're up.
Yeah, I agree. It's top down. NCAA, we see their leadership. It's not a lot. ACC, it's you see with this situation, like you said, it's liability. They're not going to want to step in and catch the blame. My feeling about the whole thing is more toward Dabo. Honestly, I think being in the position that Clemson is in and has been in over the past few years, why are you making such a stink out of this? Why are you carrying this all the way from Saturday to Tuesday and finally putting a lid on it Tuesday afternoon as press conference? Just, say your piece Saturday afternoon, Sunday, you don't carry it into the following week. Just let it die. It's like a ticking time bomb. I think with COVID anywhere in the public right now, past 9 months, it's like nuclear waste. You don't want to touch it. Stay away from it. It's going to make you look bad. And then what happens is his quotes come out on anything from, I'm not on Twitter, but I see on Instagram, I see on Facebook. There's just a headline of what Dabo says, and it's going to be his hot take. And that's what people read. They scroll. They don't click on that and read the whole 9 yards, exactly what happened, the whole background. So people form their opinions about, and that's even all the way down to the people that are making decisions on who's getting into the playoff. Like we said earlier, it's some old man that may not have all the facts. Well, at the end of this year, if you're right there at that cusp of maybe getting into the playoff, you're going to want that media on your side. So just don't beat a dead horse. Make a point and move on, especially right now with COVID, I think.
What you got, Beef?
Yeah, I agree with you, Marty, which is weird to say on this show, but and it's actually something
You don't agree with me on the picks.
I didn't. It's something I didn't really think about until you brought it up today, and I think it's the main point of the whole thing, which could have been the whole situation could have been avoided if that kid doesn't go, right? If he doesn't even go, if they just say, you know what, why are we taking player number 80 because they bumped it up 8 players from 72 to 80 to make the trips, right? So why would we even take player 80, 79? Let's be honest, he's probably between the 72 and 80, right? Let's take another kid who may or may not play. Maybe he wanted to reward the kid, right, for hard work or something like that. Maybe. I think, like your interesting jar, I need a right jar, I think. I'm out of anyway. I think that was the main point here. I think that none of this even happens. Dabo doesn't get his detractors, Dan Wolkin and Brett McMurphy and all these guys on Twitter that immediately, like Bomani Jones, are automatically, as soon as he says anything, it doesn't matter. And you're right, Zach. All they do is look at the line. They didn't look at, like, Tuesday. I was with you 1,000% until Tuesday. The reporters kept asking him questions. Now, I had a conversation via text with my buddy Ryan Lawrence, who is in media and has been forever. And his big thing is Dabo needs a PR person. He needs an upstart PR person, not some 22-year-old kid who's going to go to Twitter with everything. He's going to need a PR person that says, shut up, keep your mouth. Let's move on to Pitt, because now Pitt's like licking their chops because they are a decent squad. Yes, they have 3 losses. Now they're licking their chops because Dabo's not worried about Pitt. He's still talking about Florida State, a game that they didn't even play. So I think I love Dabo. I love him. I love his thing about the 3 coaches in 4 years this year that he said. I thought that was like mic drop. Let's go. But he probably could have said that Saturday. Sunday, when he's asked the question, just say, I'm done. We've moved on. I'm watching film on a really good Kenny Pickett and a Pitt team that can run the ball and has a tremendous run defense. Thanks. You can ask your questions down to Norvell. So I guess I agree with both of you a little bit.
You're a 5-touchdown favorite. You don't need the backup offensive lineman, who could potentially infect your team, much less Florida State. The other thing I wanted to say is something you guys hit on. Remember back in the good old days when everything Dabo said was funny and hilarious and he was all over the place? It has totally turned 360 degrees. He can't say anything now. He can't do anything without somebody being in his face about it. And I mean, that's unfortunately the way it is. But, and I don't even agree with him 100% on this, like we all 3 are saying. But I mean, if he just said anything, he'd have been. If he just said nothing about it, he'd have been accused of not caring. They wasted $300,000. Well, it doesn't matter. He cannot win these days in the media. I think some of this stuff happened earlier this year is a big reason for that. But the other thing I wanted to mention, I know you said you have friends in the media, and of course I have some friends in the media, and we do together. But the ESPN personalities and the journalists, I don't know if they're really journalists in the big J and that what they say kind of way, but before they jump on Twitter and say something, they should get all the facts. And I'm not saying Clemson was all right. I think we said this, Clemson made some mistakes, we believe. But how irresponsible is it for somebody with, 75 or 100,000 Twitter followers to go out there and, as you guys said, just read the headlines, not read the details, or have the details wrong and just want to be the first on Twitter? I think that's really irresponsible. And if Brandon Rinks listen to this, chime in and tell me I'm wrong, Brandon, but or one of our other media follows. But it seems irresponsible to me. Now, me or you with my 27 Twitter followers, not a big deal, right? And that's what the fans are going to do. They're going to throw stuff out there, and that's what fans do. But we rely on the media to tell us what are the facts. And too often it looks like it's be the first to say something wild and crazy and get 27 more followers than actually get it right. What about that, Beef?
Yeah, I think people are going for salacious, right? And unfortunately, journalism, and I don't mean to go off on this, but most of journalism nowadays, probably outside of ESPN and maybe Sports Illustrated, is click for money, click for pennies. So of course they're going to do a quick story or something, and so that you're clicking on their story, whether or not they have everything lined up or not. Now, I know our guys don't exactly, the guys we have on and we've had on, don't exactly rush to that necessarily, but we definitely see it from some of those ESPN people and even some of the lower ESPN folks, the guys that are regional in their own little cities. We see it that are trying to rush to Twitter. You do have a handful. Let's go the other end of the spectrum that wait. And David Hood from TigerNet, who's a colleague of Brandon Rink, he came out on TigerNet pretty late on Saturday, I guess. Maybe it was Sunday morning with the full story. And he was like, this is the real story. This is exactly what happens. And I don't care if I get in trouble for telling it. This is what's going on. I think because the nuclear bomb had already exploded. But it takes that, right? It at 11 o'clock it was 11 o'clock or so that we've heard that this game was being canceled. you had everybody and their mother tweeting or putting out on social media just whose fault it was, and finger pointing. Come to find out, like anybody, like that saying is, he said, she said, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. That's what it ended up happening. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the rush to clicks, but man, that seems to be society right now.
No doubt. Zach, final word is yours, buddy.
I agree with everything you guys said. When it comes to something like this that happens, or something that I say I care about, like this game, I don't look at any of that stuff immediately, because it comes out, like you said, just like, I mean, within the hour you got like, I don't know, the Spun or whatever, like on Facebook, and it's just like, they take clips of this and this, they mash it together, put a picture of Dabo from like 2 years ago, and go, this is what Dabo said, with a half a quote. What I do is I usually go to like a credible source like ESPN or CBS Sports or something. I wait for that story, and you read it. It's more involved, and it has a lot more facts, and that's what everybody should do. But not everybody does. It's just the world we live in now. It is what it is. It's quick, go, and it's just scrolling. Like I said earlier, it gives much information as you can in, but don't read the whole thing. So if it's something you care about, you should care to look into it.
I very rarely check Twitter anymore. It's just too much, and it's 98%. You have to go through so much to get to any information. Maybe I was following the wrong people or whatever, but it's just overwhelming sometimes to try and dig through all that. And I found myself wasting so much time trying to, and half the stories you think what's going on, they're, oh, wait a second, correction to the correction to the correction to the correction. Right. So, all right,
that's
folks.
a lot of the problem, really, is that they don't ever go back and fix their they don't even delete them.
True too.
So they'll put it out there, put themselves out there, put their name out there, and then all of a sudden 3 hours later they're completely wrong, and yet there it is, still there for everyone to see. So we'll move on, like Dabo should have.
All right, let's get to what the people are here for, fellas.
I don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Oh, I take that as a victory.
These guys are doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty.
I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the backdoor cover.
Yes, Beef does still stink the most, and he had a tough week this week after a 7-3 over 2 weeks. Beef, you fell to 1-3 last week, and here's where we are. It's not pretty for any of the three of us. I'm the prettiest of the three of us, and not by much, and it's not very pretty, as you can see on the screen in multiple ways.
Lipstick on a pig. You're putting lipstick on a pig.
And again, better, we have to pick 6 games this week, and an alternate. One of our alternates got booted, so we have to pick 6 games and an alternate game. And as has become the custom here, Beef will go first. We go from bottom to top, and Iowa State is traveling here to Austin in my neighborhood. 2 big games in my neighborhood this week, fellas. Iowa State at Texas, and Coastal is playing out the road, playing Texas State. Also on Saturday. So Iowa State getting 2 points at Texas. Beef, you're up first. If I did this in order, it would be a miracle. So let's roll Beef first.
We'll be on our toes here. This line's fishy to me. I don't know why it's fishy to me, but it's fishy to me. And I think I know where you guys are going, so I'm going to go the opposite way and take
That's
Texas.
Not good. You can't do that. Like that. Once you start doing that, it's trouble.
It is trouble.
You can't overthink it.
I like Brock Purdy, and I believe he's back this week. I don't know. I'm still not. Sam Ellinger is still not dead to me. I'm going to go Texas here.
All right.
But I don't know why.
Texas for Beef. That has a nice ring to it. Zach Locks Parker, you're up.
You're right. I'm going with Iowa State. But like I said, once you start thinking the opposite just to try and catch up, it's a bad rabbit hole to go down. Iowa State won last year 23-21 versus Texas. Texas has won 3 straight games coming into this game. But looking at the numbers, just to me, I think Iowa State, as far as was qualified as a Big 12 defense, they have a better Big 12 defense than the Texas Big 12 defense. So I'm going to take Iowa State here. I don't think it's going to be outlandish for them just to outright win the game.
He did research. That's not fair.
And I'm out.
Yeah. We're gonna have to kick you off the show now. Research is not allowed. Didn't you listen to the intro? Do you ruin the show by doing research?
We got more games. Trust me, I'll peter out here soon.
It'll get shorter and shorter as we get down the game. Hey, Sam Ellinger, still quarterback for Texas. Did you know? I've been trying to get this in for like a month on the show, but Beef says we never have time. Did you know he went to Westlake, which is where Drew Brees and Nick Foles and Sam Ellinger went? And did you know that Westlake is 8-0, I think, this year? They beat my son's team 59-6. And you say, wow, you got crushed. Guess what? They've outscored 8 teams in 6A Texas football. Now, we're not talking about private school here. 437-20.
Holy cow.
So they're pretty good.
437-20. And anyway, so the new quarterback there, I forgot his name, Cade Klubnik or something. He's got about 20 offers, and he's a junior. So he's the next Brees, Foles, Ellinger coming up. I don't know what that has to do with Iowa State and Texas. I am going with the Beef here because I believe in Beef, and I'm going with Texas. They're playing in Austin here. I think that makes the difference. Next up, I don't know why, but I think it does. Next up is Notre Dame travels Chapel Hill. I traveled to Chapel Hill once. And 4.5 point favorite. Notre Dame is a 4.5 point favorite. Zach Locks Parker, you're up first.
Yeah, all right. So I have nothing on this one. I was looking, and it's very evenly matched. I think that, what one team does better, the other team does worse, back and forth. You think it should balance out. 4.5 point favorites. Is Notre Dame really on a roll? It seems like they've kind of picked up some steam since they beat Clemson. But who have they played also? UNC is just scatterbrained up and down. They put up a ton of points, but they also give up a ton of points. I have Notre Dame circled with a big question mark next to it. So we're going to go with Notre Dame and the big question mark. I think they cover the fact that it's 4.5 points. I mean, I think it's a 7-point game because it's going to be up and down the field. So over under 67 this one too. So they're expecting a high scoring one as well. So put me down for Notre Dame to cover here.
So that's not on your high confidence level there. The question
not so much.
Beef. Who you got, Beef?
Well, I don't know if you saw me scrambling here, but I had to get to my phone here to see who Carson Burgess picked because he's been perfect twice on our Slugo giveaway.
It's the guy.
He picked Notre Dame, so that's where I'm going. I don't know why.
I checked that too.
Apparently, that's more research than Zach did on that game, and it's actually more research than I did. I'm going the opposite of you guys. I'm taking North Carolina. I think Notre Dame's missing their 2 offensive linemen, right? So I'm thinking I don't know what that's going to do, but I'm hoping North Carolina is able to hang close, maybe a field goal game. I don't know if North Carolina will win the game, but they'll still get credit because they'll almost have beat Notre Dame, right, if they cover this spread and still lose. So I'm going with North Carolina in that game. Next up is Pitt at Clemson. I get to go first on this one. Really tough game to gauge, right? You don't know how many of Pittsburgh players are healthy or sick or if any of them are. The Tigers haven't played in a couple of years, it seems like, for guys like us who live for those Saturdays. Trevor Lawrence hasn't played in, a month? Because he didn't play in Notre Dame, and they've been off the last 2 weeks. So it's been 4 weeks or so since Trevor Lawrence. And which Pitt team shows up? I think, Beef, you said they had 3 losses, but they got crushed by Notre Dame, but then they played well last week. So who knows? I just know I can't really trust the Clemson defense after watching Notre Dame go 91 yards at the end of regulation. It's not the same defense. It's certainly not the same defense with Skalski out. I don't know about the other guys. So 24 is too much for me. I'm going to go with Pitt. And of course, I lost track of who is up here. Who is up? It's Beef or Beef.
Yeah, you're right with who's going to play for Pitt, right? But that number, again, is too big, and I hate doing it. But I'm going to have to say Pitt here. They run the ball well. I know Clemson will stop them. Kenny Pickett's probably right behind Sam Howell and Trevor Lawrence and maybe Phil Jurkovich from BC as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. And he was out for 2 of those games that they lost. So I'm always scared of Pitt because I was in that stadium in 2016 when they shouldn't have beat Clemson and did, with that damn tight end screen all dang day. And you know they're going to try it again because Pat Narduzzi's still at the helm there. You know they're going to try it. I don't care who's playing tight end for him because I didn't hear about him then in 2016. And I don't know who he is now. But what is it? Vincent Davis, the running back there for Pitt, is pretty solid. We'll see. I think Pitt covers, but I think just barely. I think it's a 21-point game.
You know, that 2016 game, every time I tell my boy about it, he asked me who the quarterback for Pitt was, and he still can't believe it, right? He still can't, because he only knows Nick Peterman from the NFL, right? He doesn't know him as the dynamic quarterback that took down Deshaun Watson in Death Valley. His
stats were definitely swayed by that tight end flip up the middle. Literally, the tight end would come in motion, they'd snap it, and they'd flip it to him. And it was like Noah, man, or Moses, whatever. I don't Bible thing. Sorry, guys. It was the seas just parted. And this dude ran like 80 yards, and then they would throw fullback screens. It's like, who is drawing up these plays because they're brilliant, and we can't stop them. It was a nightmare all day, all night that night.
Noah Moses, he was the left tackle, I think. All right, Zach Locks Parker, who you got?
That's too good. I am going to go with Angry Dabo. Trevor Lawrence wanting to get back in the Heisman race. Clemson at home, happy to be there after traveling for nothing last week. And I see them beating the tar out of Pittsburgh here. And even Dabo leaving the boys in to run the score up to prove a point so he can get into media again and run his mouth and talk about blah, 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 whatever he wants to and never quit. So I got Clemson by 35.
I could see that happening too. That's the scary thing about this game. I could see either way, right? I could see Travis Etienne because tomorrow on the Southern Reserve highlight is going to be the first play of the championship game a couple years back where Etienne went 75 yards on the first play. I could see that happening easily, but I don't know. 24 is a lot. Anyway, Maryland getting 12 points at Indiana. Beef, you're up first. I know you did a ton of research. This is an hour-and-a-half show. Please keep your research down.
Well, I am on the Indiana bandwagon. I liked what they did, their fight last week against Ohio State. I think this number's too big for Tauli Tonga Vailoa.
What?
I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. From T Tonga Vailoa from Maryland. I just think he's a gamer. I think he's gonna give Indiana defense fits. I'm not saying they win the game outright, but I'm gonna pick Maryland here, and I'm wrong.
Ooh, wait a second. Too big of a spread for Tagovailoa, but you picked Maryland?
Yeah.
Okay.
The number's too big. The 12 number's too big.
Too big.
I'm missing it. Okay. Zach Locks Parker, you're up next.
I got this game circled to watch. I think this is going to be fun. Up and down, couple of aggressive quarterbacks that can sling the ball. Up and coming, fun to watch. So over under 62.5. Over big time, I think. Big
Lock
time.
it
Not
up.
a lot of D here. So circle this one, Beef, for the weekend, okay? I got Maryland here too. I think it's going to be up and down game. Probably like a 7-point game. Maybe even closer, but I think Indiana win, but not cover the number. So put me down for Maryland here and to his brother.
That's what I meant, Marty. That it's going to be a 10-point game, maybe, but not.
I think I tuned out, but anyway,
It's easy to do when we're on the
Take a number with me.
I couldn't hang in there for the whole 30 minutes tonight. All right. My concern here is that Indiana's going to have a letdown after last week, right? They got all picked up to play Ohio State and they lost. But Zach's favorite player, my favorite player, plays quarterback for Oklahoma. Zach's favorite player plays quarterback for Indiana. And I just think we're going to see some dynamic plays from Indiana. And I'm going to take Indiana here. Man, I like this. We got some diversity this week.
Yeah,
You got,
finally, right?
yeah. It took what did we week 13? It took 13 weeks, but we got some diversity here. I'm going with Indiana. I think maybe it's a 2-touchdown game. Kind of what you guys said, just real close to the spread, but I'm going the other way. Auburn is out of Alabama getting 24.5 points. Man, I screwed up these things again. 24.5 points. Locks, you're first.
Coach Saban, big news today, is out with another positive test. Evidently, this time he has symptoms, so they're really expecting to be a positive test this time. I wonder what this line will do. I know we're locked in at 24.5. I wonder if he'll drop any with him being out. I mean, it probably won't matter a ton, I would imagine. But rivalry game, Iron Bowl, everybody knows the story. I figure the starters are going to be in for this one for the majority of the game, not the whole time. Bama only scored 38 points in their first game. Since then, they've scored 52, 63, 41, 48, 41, and 63. They can put up some points. I'll take Alabama to cover the 24.5 here.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines as you are, Zach. My notes say it's very extensive on this one. 24 is a bunch, but Alabama is the best team in the country. I'm taking Alabama. Beef, who you got?
Yeah, Alabama's got 37 former head coaches in their coaching staff, so I think they'll be okay without the main man. But according to ESPN, it is still 24.5, and it's Alabama all day.
All right.
Bye-bye, Gus.
Yeah, Gus Bus.
All right. How did I manage to get these games out of order? I don't even have any notes for that vaunted Southern Cal game coming up next that I need to pick first. Colorado is getting 13.5 against Southern Cal. I've seen Southern Cal's first game where they somehow scored 2 touchdowns in like 38 seconds after scoring 7 points the whole game, I think, or 14 or something. The second game they squeaked by also. They're 2-0, I think, or maybe they're 3-0. I don't know. It tells you how much I know about them. I'm going to go with Colorado, just playing the point spread here, 13.5. Wish it was 14 or 14.5, but I'm going with Colorado and the 13. Beef, who you got?
The beautiful thing about this is I just printed this off today, to follow, and USC Colorado's not on here, so I'm literally going just off the top of my head. 13.5, you said? 13.5 Colorado? Yeah, I'm going Colorado here too. I just don't trust Southern Cal to blow anybody out, and that's a big number for them. So Colorado.
Zach Parker.
Yeah, make it clean sweep. Colorado for me too. Nobody's really shown me anything. I know Colorado's 2-0. I've heard from our other cohort on our other show on Chop and Beef. He says Colorado's good. So, okay, I'll take it, JJ. I mean, put me down for Colorado here. But, USC's really shown nothing. They've won by 2 points, 4 points. They're 3-0. Whoopee. They're ranked also 22nd just because of that. So,
all right.
They needed pretty much 2 miracles to win against the Arizona team. So, yeah.
Right.
Okay, the Oklahoma-West Virginia game was canceled, so our only alternative game that we'll use if one of the others gets canceled in an effort to try and get 5 here is Mississippi State is getting 9.5, traveling to Oxford to play Ole Miss. Zach, I'll let you go first on this one. Who you got in the Egg Bowl?
Yeah, the Egg Bowl, right? This is going to be a fun one to watch, I think. Not this year, but in coming up years, I think it's going to be really entertaining. The 2 coaches, obviously, Leach and Kiffin, are fantastic. Haven't heard much from Leach, though, lately since he won the first or second game by a big blowout, and then he's just been battling ever since. I don't think he has a whole lot on the defensive side of the ball. Kiffin, though, has been pure entertainment the whole time. Actually has some athletes there, and plus you can throw him out there to sling a clipboard if you need him. So 9.5. Over under on this one 67.5. You better look at the over on this one too, Beef. I'm going to go with Ole Miss myself here. I think they'll end up winning that in the fourth quarter, but probably only by about 10 points.
All right, Ole Miss for Zach. Beef, who you got?
Yeah, it's everyone's favorite head coach, Lane Kiffin. He's slowly becoming mine again because his antics are just fantastic. When he calls a touchdown, I'm going Ole Miss here. That 9.5 isn't enough. I don't believe Leach isn't there yet. The air raid snuck up on LSU, hasn't snuck up on anybody else in the conference. So I think Ole Miss is going to score enough to win.
Yeah, I agree pretty much with what Zach said. This sounded like a great game. Remember the offseason? This is all they talked about. Leach against Lane Kiffin. This is going to be great. Sound like a train wreck now, at least for one of the team. I'm going to take Ole Miss. I think they cover. It could be interesting down the road. Whoop, there's a word. Start a new jar. It could be intriguing down the road in a couple of years. All right, let's go over these picks. I didn't do them in the right order again, but I think I wrote them down right. Okay, Beef, Texas, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Alabama, Colorado, Ole Miss. I took Texas, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Indiana, Alabama, Colorado, and Ole Miss. Well, we got to the end there, and we started picking the same. Zach Locks Parker has Iowa State, Notre Dame, Clemson, Maryland, Alabama, Colorado, and Ole Miss. Does that sound right, fellas?
That's right.
Yeah, you got mine. Yep.
Okay.
Big week here,
Okay.
Marty. I can catch you.
You can, because we went different on some games.
Yeah.
The way I'm going, you will. The rando picks are 19-20 on the season. They were 2-2 last week, which would have tied them for first, by the way. And the rando picks this week are Texas, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, and Southern California, again in a different order. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Oklahoma obviously is not playing. I can take those guys out. All right. I think that is just about it for tonight, fellas. I want to thank Zach Locks Parker for checking in from his mother-in-law's house, right? Is that where you're at?
Yep, that's where I'm at. Rock Hill, South Carolina.
She probably wants you to pay her back for the internet usage. Nelson Wilhite for helping us out on the Facebook page. Everyone on Southern Reserve that likes, views, comments, repost, and whatever you do on Facebook. And, of course, the folks on Slugo Podcast and the Chop and Beef. You guys, I was going to say every Thursday, but not this Thursday. Talk about the Chop and Beef.
Yeah, we're taking tomorrow off for Thanksgiving, even though it's going to be kind of a weird Thanksgiving. It's just right. It's the right thing to do. So, but normally Thursday nights, and we're going to fall into the same trap at Christmas and New Year's too. So normally Thursday nights, we get it out Thursday late. Listen to it Friday, anywhere you listen to some podcasts. We're not on video yet.
These two guys and Jeff, Justin, who again, thank you for the contribution. JJ, appreciate it. I'll get that out to the vets in the next week or 10 days. Guys, thanks. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk next week.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. See y'all.
I think that sounds pretty good.